Hello and welcome back to Nicole's Crafty Corner. Today I will be teaching you how to add a brim to your beanie. So this is the beanie that I made in my previous video. And again, like I said in that video, this is my favorite beanie to make because it uses all of your fundamental stitches. So if you're a newbie, a novice, or even if you're not and you just want a quick beanie that's not boring to make because you're switching stitches, this is the one. So if you don't have a beanie, you can go on over to that video. I'll link above or at the end of this video. Make your beanie and then come back. If you already have a beanie, then you can get started now. So what I'm using is the beanie, of course. I am using stitch markers because I believe in using stitch markers, because why not? It really, in the long run, prevents you from having to frog your work. If you don't know what that means, it means to just rip it apart. That's so corny. Anyways, it keeps you from having to do that, especially when you're first starting and you're not used to looking at crochet stitches. So use your stitch markers. Just do it. I have a yarn needle, of course, for weaving in your ends at the end. Some scissors. I don't know why, but I have scissors because you're supposed to always have scissors in crochet tutorials. And I have an I9 5.5 millimeter hook. I crocheted this hat with a J hook. So I went down one size, and so this is an I9 hook. And I am using the same yarn that I used to the same yarn that I used to crochet this with, I'm using as one of my strands. And then I had like this khaki colored yarn also. You're going to need 2 strands of yarn for this project. So I'm using these 2. You don't need much at all. So you do need 2 because that will give the brim some stiffness. Some texture, and it'll keep it from being all floppy and give it some stiffness. So you want to get that, and that is it. So this brim is worked over 23 stitches total. So you want to figure out where you want your brim to be. Count the 23 stitches. Like if you have a very noticeable seam, then you probably want that seam in the back of your head. So where is my seam? I don't know, because my seam isn't very noticeable. Anyways, so just figure out where you want the front of your hat to be, and just know that you're going to be crocheting over 23 stitches. Okay. The other thing, I have some notes. Okay, so I know people are used to marking stitches at like the beginning, but for this project, we're going to mark the beginning stitch, and we're also going to mark the end stitch, because it can get kind of confusing with the way that this pattern works up, and you will see as we go along. So just remember, we are marking the beginning and the end of each row, and it may seem a little bit like extra, but don't worry about it. Like, we're already extra because we make things out of crochet stitch by stitch. Like, we make something out of nothing. So just be extra. And your work will turn out better and faster in the long run. You won't have to figure out why you messed up, because you didn't. Your stitch markers don't lie. The stitch markers don't lie. Okay, let's get started. You're going to use 2 strands at a time. Count your 23. So I'm going to say this will be my first stitch, and I just want to make sure that's somewhat in the middle. Of course, you can always turn your hat and make it the center, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the first row is counted over 18 stitches, and then we're going to expand, which will make it end up being 23 stitches. Okay, so you've already figured out it's going to be 23. Figure out where that 18th stitch is going to be. That's what, 6 in. 18, what's the math, y'all? 19, 20, 22, 3, 5 stitches in, and then so 23, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to start here. Maybe. Okay, so what I mean by that is your first 18 stitches are going to be here, and as the brim gets bigger, longer, it's going to expand outwards. So your first 18 stitches should be right in the middle. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to attach your yarn. Okay, I'm just attaching it with a chain. I'm also going to chain 1. The first chain 1 of this project counts as a single crochet. This entire project is worked using single crochets, and as you can see, I'm going to mark it. I'm going to mark the first single crochet, and then I'm going to mark the 18th. So that was 1, 2, 3, 17, 18. Okay, so you have single crocheted over 18 stitches of your brim, and you're going to mark this 18th spot. Mark it, because this is the next spot you're going to crochet into once we turn. So this next round we are going to work in the back loops only, and I will show you what that is. But first we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn. So again, that first row you should have 18 single crochet, and right here where the stitch marker is, that's where we're going to put our first back loop single crochet. So in case you are unaware, this is the back loops. This is your front loop. Oops. This is your front loop. This is your back loop. We will be doing 1 round of back loop only, single crochets, okay? So let us work like this. I'm going to take my stitch marker out, and I'm going to put a single crochet into that back loop, and I'm going to immediately put my stitch marker back. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, and then we are going to work row 2 as follows. We're going to put 1 single crochet in the first, 1 crochet in the second stitch, and we're going to increase into the third. I'm going to put 2 stitches there. And that is the pattern. 1, 1, 2. And you're working all of these into that back loop only. And at the end of this round, you should have 24 single crochet. So again, we're doing 1, 1, 2, and I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, I'm coming up to the end of this row. I'm going to remove this stitch marker. I'm going to place my last 2. Be a little bit difficult getting it in there, but you can do it. Into that stitch, I'm going to mark this last stitch because that is where you will be working your first stitch into the next row. So mark your stitches. Again, at the end of that row, you should have 24 single crochet. Okay, so this is where things get interesting. What you're going to do next is you're going to put a slip stitch into the next stitch on the bottom of the hat. So this is your 18th sorry, your 24th stitch, this is where you're going to crochet into the next. It's a little bit difficult to see on this hat because of the stitch that I used to finish my hat, these reverse single crochets, but you're not going into the same stitch that the 18th, I'm sorry, that the 24th stitch is in. You're going into the next because you want to expand out. So I'm going to put that stitch right in here because that's the next space on this hat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into the next space on the bottom of the hat, and I'm going to leave my stitch marker in there because that is where I'm putting the next stitch when I turn. So I slipped into the bottom of the hat there. I am going to turn my work. You're not chaining one, you're just going to turn your work, and you're going to put one single crochet in every stitch across, and at the end of this row you should still have 24 stitches. So my first stitch going across is going to be here where the stitch marker is. It is not going to be here. This is your slip stitch, and this is why we mark this, because they look pretty similar. This is small, this is smaller, of course, but if you're newer to crochet, that's going to look like where you should be, and it's not. You're not going into here, you're going into here, which is where your stitch marker is. So what we're going to do is we're no longer working in the back loops only. We're working straight through both loops, and we're going to put one single crochet all the way across. I'm going to immediately, after I do my first one, I'm going to immediately mark it. Some of y'all are going to get all fancy and think, oh, I got this, I don't need to mark it. And then your little head's going to be all lopsided, your little brim is going to be all looking all crazy, when there's no need for pride here. There's no need. Use your stitch markers, y'all. So I'm just going all the way across, putting single crochets. You want to slowly build your brim. You don't want to go crazy and have your brim too wavy, and you don't want to have it too stiff either. So going all the way across. And again, you should still have 24 because we did not add any on this round. So coming up on the last two, I'll take this out. I'm going to crochet into this stitch. Be a little difficult on the ends, and then I'm going to immediately put this back. Immediately. When? Immediately. Okay? And again, we're going to slip stitch into the bottom of the hat in the very next space. Not in the space where the crochet is coming out of, in the very next space, because we want to make the hat wider. So we're slipping into there, right? Leave this, don't take it out. I know you want to, you got the trigger finger, don't. Leave it there. You're going to chain one. You're going to turn your work, okay? And your next stitch will be here. It won't be in the chain one, and it won't be in the slip, okay? That's why it's important to listen to me and use your stitch markers, okay? Because your next stitch will go into here. The temptation, fight it, okay? So you've already chained one. We're going to do one, mark it immediately, okay? 2, 3, and into the 4th, you want to increase, okay? That is the repeat round. So you're going to put 3 single crochet, and into the fourth, you're going to increase, and I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, we are coming to the end of row 4, and my last 2 stitches will go into here where my stitch marker is, and I'm going to mark it immediately. Okay, and then again I am going to find the next stitch on the bottom of this hat, and I'm going to slip stitch into that and chain 1. Okay, we're leaving this here. We're not touching it. It's not bothering you right now. Okay, at the end of this row, you should have 30. We are done increasing for the brim. It's going to be wavy. It should be wavy because doing the next few rounds will straighten it out. You want it to be wavy. If it's not wavy, it's probably not right. Oh, where's the t-shirt? Okay, so leave it. It's not bothering you. You're going to turn your work. We are now on row 5. Row 5 is a row of single crochets all the way across. Actually, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are just back and forth single crochet rounds. But we're going to do it together because we're on the last row. We're going to do something a little bit different. So 5th round, we're going into where the stitch marker is, not where you want to go, but where you need to go, which is right in here. Okay, and then we're going to put the stitch marker back when? Immediately. Immediately, child. Okay, so if you're a counter, if you're new, if you need to count, you should only have 30. From now until the rest of the project, you will only have 30 single crochets going across. Right now, we're just smoothing this brim out. It's going to be so cute. Okay, so we're just going all the way across with your single crochet. This is row 5, and I will meet you at the end of row 5. All right, we're coming to the end of row 5. We're going to put that last stitch to there. That's number 30, of course, right? Because we're not increasing. We're going to again slip stitch into the next space at the bottom of your hat. Leave your marker there. Leave it there. Chain 1, turn your work. Row 6 is worked exactly as row 5. You're just going to single crochet, going all the way across, and now as you can see, you have less waves. The waves are just getting bigger. Ow. Okay, so you're going to remove this stitch marker. We're going to make sure we put that right back in there. We're going to put the stitch marker back. And we're going to put 1 single crochet all the way across. And I will meet you at the end of row 6. Okay, we are coming up to the end of row 6. I'm going to put that stitch in there, replace the stitch marker, and we're going to find that next spot at the bottom of the hat and slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and we're going to do row 7 the same way as rows 5 and 6, except at the very end, we're going to do something a little bit different. So go ahead and remove your stitch marker. And put 1 single crochet, put your stitch marker back so I don't yell at you. Okay, and we're going to put 1 single crochet all the way across. This is row 7, and at the end of row 7, I'll show you what we're going to do that's just a little bit different. And this hat only has 8 rows, so we're almost done. Okay, we are coming up to the end of round 7. We're going to go ahead and remove this stitch marker, crochet into there, Put that back. Okay. And now, instead of slip stitching into the next space on the bottom of this hat, we're actually going to crochet into the same space that all the other stitches in this row are in. So we're going to put a slip stitch right into here. Here's the top of the hat, and we're going to go right into the bottom of the same stitch and right in that same area. So we're going to slip stitch because we don't need to make it any wider at this point. It would start to look a little strange and not fit correctly if you stretch it out anymore. So we're going to slip into that space. We're going to chain one and we're going to turn. This is the last. You see how it's getting less wavy? This last round will flatten it out all the way. So this last round, you can take your stitch marker out. Okay, you're going to put one single crochet all the way across. You don't have to put your stitch marker back because you won't be back here anymore. So you can be free of your stitch marker, but you shouldn't look at your stitch marker as anything other than a really good tool. Okay, so you're going to go all the way across. This is your final row. And I will meet you at the end of our final row. We are coming up to the final stitches of our brim. We're going to remove this stitch marker. We're going to single crochet into there. You're done also with this stitch marker. And what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch again on this side. We're going to slip stitch into the bottom of the same area where this stitch, all these stitches are coming out of. Instead of it being the next one, we're going to go right into the bottom of this stitch here. So we're going to slip stitch into there. And that's it. We're going to cut our work. I need to weave in these ends, but let me show you how it's looking. There it is. Actually, I will cut this a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to weave those ends in. Actually, let me weave the ends in and then I'll come back on camera. So this is what our brim looks like after I weaved in the ends. I put it on my model. Her name is Crocheters. She's been with me for a very long time. She has been with me for 20 years, maybe. And so isn't this brim super cute? Yes, and you will find that if you crochet with a decent tension, that this brim will be so firm and malleable. You'll be able to shape it how you want to shape it, and it's going to turn out super cute. Thank you again for joining me. Ooh, she cute. She cute. Okay, move ring light. Ooh, she cute though. Ow. Thank you again for joining me on another tutorial. I greatly appreciate your support. I will be back in a couple of days with something very unique. I'm going to do a little something different. I've been doing a lot of beginner hats and scarf tutorials, but I want to do something a little bit different. I think you all, matter of fact, I know y'all are gonna love it. Okay, I will see you soon. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bless.